Hey, good morning. We're looking at lesson 10.2 for algebra this week, and we're going to be talking about stem and leaf plots. But before we get started, let's have our joke of the day. What did the investigator say when he collected more data? Answer: the stem and leaf plot thickens. So we're on lesson 10.2 today, creating stem and leaf plots and creating frequency tables and histograms. Some of our new vocabulary or review vocabulary are stem and leaf frequency, frequency table, histogram, and cumulative frequency. There you go. So stem and leaf plot arranges data by dividing each data value into two parts. This allows you to see each data value. For example, on the screen, this would be the number 23, broken into tens and ones. The last digit is called the leaf. The first is the stem. Key. And anytime we create one of these stem and leaves, we always put a key at the bottom indicating this 2 and 3 means the number 23. The key tells you how to read each value. Here's example 1, part A, making a stem and leaf plot. The numbers of defective widgets in batches of 1,000 are given below. Use the data to make a stem and leaf plot. Well, first of all, we look at the data to see how many of each set of in tens we have. The tens digits are the stems. The ones digits are the leaves. List the leaves from least to greatest within each row. So when we have 0 tens, we have the numbers 8 twice and 9 twice. And so those are listed with a stem of 0. And then our tens are 1 10 and 2 ones, 12, 2 13s, a 14, a 15, and a 19. And in the 20s, we have 20 and 21. Title the graph and add the key. These are the parts of making a stem and leaf. The number of defective widgets per batch, and 9 means 19. The season scores for the football teams going to the state championship are given. Use the data to make a back-to-back stem and leaf plot. So the initial one was a single stem and leaf. We're going to make a back-to-back comparing Team A to Team B. Now, Team A, lowest value 42. Nope, I see a 37. 37 is for Team B. We can read our stem and leaf down here. Team A, the lowest, is 42. Notice how we read on the left side, 4 is still our tens digit, and 2 is our ones. The tens digits are the stems, the ones digits are the leaves, and they have to be on the left and right of the middle, and we're going to read them kind of backwards, if you will. So we're going to title the graph Football State Championship Scores, and the key 48 means 48, and 42 means 42. So you can see we read it differently on the left. Here's check it out, problem number 1. Please do this one and come back to see that you have the same answer. Just as in the other stem and leaves, we can see 7, our only single digit value. We have 19. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 values in the 20s and 7 in the 30s. The tens digits are the stems, the ones are the leaves, and we're going to title the graph temperature in degrees Celsius, and we're going to add our key. Frequency and histograms. The frequency of a data value is the number of times it occurs. How frequently does something occur? A frequency table shows the frequency of each data value. If the data is divided into intervals, the table shows the frequency of each interval. In example 2, the number of students enrolled in Western civilization classes at the university are given below. Use the data to make a frequency table with intervals. We're going to go through the steps of making a frequency table. Identify the least and greatest values. Looking at our table, we can see 9 is the least, 32 is the greatest. We're going to divide the data into equal intervals. For this data set, we're going to use an interval of 10. Listing them in columns of the table, count the number of data values in each interval and list the count in the last column. Give the table a title. The number of values between 1 and 10. Here's where they're talking about the interval from 1 to 10. We had our one number and it was 9. So in this interval, there is exactly one number that occurs. From 11 to 20, there are 4. 21 to 30, there are 5, and 31 to 40, there are 2. Enrollment in Western Civilization classes is the title. So let's check it out, example 2. The number of days of Maria's last 15 vacations are listed below. Use the data to make a frequency table with intervals. So I see several single-digit values. So our first interval could be 0 to 10. Second one, 10 to 20. Identify the least and greatest. We have a least value of 4 and a greatest value of 15. Divide the data into equal intervals. For this data set, they're using an interval of 3. So from 4 to 6, that's 4, 5, and 6. We saw 5 values of data. Let's go back. They were 4, 5, and 6. We're going to go on to the next. From 7 to 9, we had 4 values. From 10 to 12, we had 4. And 13 to 15, we had 2. The title, number of vacation days. And our third topic, a histogram, is a bar graph used to display the frequency of data. So like the frequency table, we're still displaying frequency into intervals. The bar must be of equal width and should touch but not overlap. So these are little notes for us to keep for our final exam. Use the scale and interval from the frequency table. Draw a bar for the number of classes in each interval. So here's our frequency table. From 1 to 10, we had 1, 11 to 24, 5, 2, etc. Here's our title. All bars should be the same width. They should not touch they should touch but not overlap. So here we can see the frequency table brought into our histogram, and we can see that same data from 1 to 10, we had one number that occurred. From 11 to 20, we had 4, 5 for the 20s, and 2 for the 30s. We're going to make a histogram for the number of days, Maria's last 15 vacations. So please do this problem and come back for the solution. So we can see that for the Check It Out problem example 3, they're using the scale and interval from the frequency table, the same, 4 to 6, 7 to 9, etc. We're going to use that in our histogram. Draw the bar. They should touch, not overlap. Title the graph, and label the horizontal and vertical axes. So we see the exact same data from the frequency table now in our histogram. The values between 4 and 6, there were 5. 7 to 9, there were 4, etc. So we've labeled our histogram, and we have titled both the horizontal and the vertical axis. The length of her vacations and the number of vacations that she spent. A cumulative frequency shows the frequency of all data values less than or equal to a given value. You could just count the number of values, but if the data set has many values, you might lose track. Recording the data in a cumulative frequency table can help you keep track of the data values as you count. So example 4 says we're going to make a cumulative frequency table. The weight of packages of cheddar cheese are given below. So apparently we're at Tillamook Cheese Factory and we're taking data on all the packages of cheese that come out. Obviously they're going to vary. And we're going to make our frequency and histogram and take that data and make our cumulative frequency table. We're going to choose intervals for the first column of the table, and we're going to record the frequency values in each interval for the second. So adding the frequency of each interval to the frequencies of all the intervals before it. Put that number in the third column. This is cumulative, meaning accumulating. So 18 to 20, there were 6 packages. Total 6. 21 to 23, there are now an additional 2. We're going to add that to the previous count to come up with our total of 8. 24 to 26, we have 5. We're adding that to the previous count, giving us 13. 5 plus 8, 13, and we can see 3 plus 13, 3 in the range of 27 to 29 ounces, gives us a total accumulation of 16 packages. This gives us the total count of all packages that we have taken data on. 6, 8, 13, 16. 16 total. Titled the table, cheddar cheese, one of my favorite subjects. How many packages weigh less than 24 ounces? So we're going to come to the table. Here is our 24. We want strictly less than. So we're going to look at our frequency table. They're displayed in the first 2 rows of the table. So look at the cumulative frequency shown in the second row. There are 8 packages with weights under 24 ounces. You are going to do this problem, example 4, the number of vowels in each sentence of a short essay. They're listed below. Use the data to make a cumulative frequency table. Do that and we'll be right back. So you've had time to make your frequency table. We're going to choose intervals. We look at our data, see what we want, what makes sense, record the frequency values in each interval. These are the number of vowels in each sentence of a short essay. So we break it up, 28, 29, 30, 31. 4 is our range here, or 3 if we don't count the first number. And we see our frequency table occurring. There are 2 of those for a total of 2. 32 to 35, we add that to the previous count and come up with 9. Title of the table, vowels in sentences. How many sentences contain 35 vowels or fewer? We would come to the table 35, 34, 33, 32. So it includes this row, and we can see that 9 is the number that contains 35 vowels or fewer. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. When you get done with your lesson, that assignment is on PowerSchool, I want you to come back to this lesson quiz and submit this with your assignment as well. This is lesson quiz part 2. It is also part of your quiz to be submitted with your homework for lesson 10-2. Here is lesson quiz part 3. Use the frequency table from problem 2 to make your histogram. Please submit this as your quiz with your lesson for 10-2.